Welcome to a replay of one of our many excellent talks from Secure Southwest 15, and thanks again to our sponsors Securious, C3IA, CrowdStrike and the British Computer Society, and most importantly our prime sponsor the UK Government Department of Digital, Culture, Media and Sport.
The next, is there any end to Geoff's talents? I don't think so. So rather than in this capacity of organising this event for us, he's going to talk to us and introduce a collaborative presentation with Faye from University of Plymouth. But in this instance, he's both representing the cluster and also his own company, SafeSpace One, as a social media innovator. I'll let him explain more.
Thank you, Robin. So yeah, I have a slight advantage over others here in as much that I reviewed everybody else's presentation and nobody reviewed mine. Gives me an opportunity to be a little bit more controversial in a couple of areas that I'm deeply passionate about in the context of social media. And it sort of started for me when I worked in Silicon Valley. I was leading a 300-person software development team, really trying to build the next generation of development tools for real-time systems. And I was there mixing with some of the people who became Google and Facebook. And I've got to tell you, it worried me. Their attitude to us and our data was completely exploitative. It started there and it remains there today. So social media is an asset. Social media is a tool, and we all want to use it. But we also have to be careful. And so I want to talk today about a few areas of interest in that area and really set things up for Faye to talk about her approach or design methodology to help people be trained to be more secure in their use of social media. So as Robin mentioned, I'm here today as an entrepreneur who's previously built a social platform, albeit one that sought to be trustworthy by design. And so I have insight into how such platforms operate. And more importantly, I'm here to set things up for Faye. For over 10 years, I've been advocating for increased digital rights for individuals online, and I have a detailed insight as to how social platforms work, are secured or not, and are private or not. Yes, we're good. So my current company, SafeSpace One, is building a confidential and safe online virtual therapy room. So as you can imagine, when servicing stressed and highly vulnerable people online, one has to take a really deep dive into privacy, confidentiality, and security in the context of digital engagement. And building a safe space online is about diametrically opposite to current social platform norms as it's possible to be. And it's caused me and my team some significant headaches and also some insights. I plan to share a few of these insights with you today in order to stress the demand and need for the type of training that Faye is developing. But in order to do that, I'd like to take a little step back and say, underpinning any engagement between two people and social engagement in general and online in particular is actually trust. And trustworthiness is first encouraged when a platform proactively seeks to ensure users have absolute transparency as to what data is collected and to what purpose it is put to. How many users using it on social media can actually answer either of those questions for the platforms they use? Not a very good job being done out there. Secondly, trust is encouraged when control is given to the users over their data, because it is their data. How many have even looked at what these platforms collect and sought to minimize it? There are tools. And thirdly, trust is encouraged when we can hold those who abuse, share, or lose information about us accountable. And despite the GDPR being law since 2016, not 2018, that's when it got enforced, how many of people know their rights, know how to exercise them, and realistically, how likely are we as users able to actually hold social platforms to account? None of these things really are conducive to building trust, and yet we still use these platforms. We use social media, we share incredible insights about ourselves and our daily lives, and we're trusting the social media despite continuous evidence to the contrary. Let's not forget Cambridge Analytica. And now the clicker is not. Oh, there we go. No, it's gone too far. There we go. So the social media business model, this is really the crux of the issue for me. When staff use social media in their private lives, when they use it for marketing purposes for your company, They're providing a rich vein of information that's specifically designed to enable manipulation of, sorry, I meant personal data adverts to people through the social media platform. It's impossible for that insight to be kept confidential and used only for advertising, assuming that you trust that that's the only purpose social platforms will use it for. The nature of digital social interaction means that those you interact with, or even those able to observe your interactions, are able to gain deep insight into who you are. Of course, this is not only information source used by those seeking to manipulate staff. So the ability to create a successful phishing attack, for example, depends deeply on the ability to profile the person being imitated and manipulate the person being tricked. Oh, there we go, right. The real issue is it's not just about the information you share on social media that provides insight to your identity, it's everything else you do online. Current estimates are that approximately 75,000 data points are traded on every man, woman, and child connected to the internet every day. If a social media platform does not collect the data from you directly, they purchase it and correlate it for ever greater insight. It's a bit like Bitcoin mining. The discovery of a new data point and a way to regularly collate it creates a new premium value point for social media, websites, or other online services. It's like commodity trading. Easily accessible commodities reduce in value. New, rare commodities, like those found by social platforms, create huge revenues and profits. And so it's a race to the bottom for our digital identity. So how hard do you think it is to tap in and purchase this identity? It's scarily easy, and there are no controls. You just become an advertising affiliate. That's all we have to do. Perversely, the self-interest of social media platforms, frankly, is our only hope, because they don't want their, and I do put that in quotes, their insights openly traded, despite purchasing whatever they can get and correlate from others to build those deeper insights. Bit of a perverse business model, if you think about it. Back. This clicker is really, can you go back one? Thank you. Another area of topic of passion of mine is this idea of anonymity online. I'm sure we've all experienced marketing claims that your identity is protected, your anonymity is assured if you, so you can safely share certain data with us. The average non-data scientist sees the word anonymity as a true or false statement. Whereas in data science terms, it's always shades of gray, and it is never true. Never true. Because a data set that removes all informational value is worthless. And a data set that sustains any relatable data to you is by definition identifiable. Anonymity is explicitly excluded from the GDPR for precisely this reason. Yet here in the UK, our wonderful ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office, have just output guidance for creating, sharing, and processing anonymous data, and assures processors of no financial consequence if that data is lost or stolen. Just leave that for a second to think about. So it's a recipe for exploitation, and only the UK, and this is where I'm getting a little bit controversial, only the UK is fooling itself with this ridiculous claim. In the US, in 2014, the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology explicitly advised the President, and I quote, regulating disclosure of health information, as one example, by regulating the use of anonymization fails to capture the power of data fusion. Our government knows this too, and yet continues with the farce of pretending that our citizens' data can be anonymized. As you gather, a bit of a passion point for me. Oh, it's going the wrong way. Can you go back to the cookie slide? Yeah. So we all know about cookies, right? But how many people still click on the accept, thinking anything else will stop the website working properly? In my experience, the majority. And be assured, in 99% of cases, rejecting cookies will have no effect on your website browsing experience. For digital innovation in mental health, an event I spoke at last year, I surveyed 70 mental health service websites to see what data they shared with third parties. Given that they know they are dealing with vulnerable people, you'd think they'd be ultra cautious. Sadly not. 40% included Facebook pixel trackers. Some websites not only had in excess of 30 third-party sharing cookies, but they also employed dark pattern consent methods to trick users into allowing their use. So if the mental health sector has not got this right, what hope is there for the rest of the market? 50% of these websites used Google Analytics, yet this has now been ruled illegal under the GDPR. And a key defense of Google was that data collected was, guess what? Anonymous. This was proven in court to be a false claim, and as such, all such data collected needed consent, and this was not properly consented information. The next logical step is for all that data to be deleted. Imagine the consequences on your business if the insights you collated had to be deleted. I personally had to complain to Barclays Bank for dropping Facebook trackers on my account page after I had logged in. They removed them after my first complaint, waited 6 months because that's the banking ombudsman's timer for complaint management, and then reinstantiated them 6 months later, to which I had to complain again. And they finally have now removed them. Could I get the ICO to take any direct action? No, no mechanism whatsoever for that. Cookies are not that dangerous, honestly, Gov. More importantly, the fight is still being waged against cookies, and a hugely important win just occurred, with the IAB, the advertising industry trade body, having had what they call their transparency and consent framework, I'm going to hold back my laughter there, ruled illegal, highlighting inappropriate use of legitimate interest to bypass consent. So you're going to see a lot of changes on website cookie banners soon, because this historic data collected cannot be reclaimed and erased that easily, if at all. Just another insight here for you. Historic information disclosure is the bane of identity protection. And I keep talking about identity because this is what social media really informs the hackers about. And even our own government has done some truly, and my wife told me not to say this, stupid things. Who'd have thought it? When Companies House first went online, they decided to save money by getting a special dispensation to not have to redact information from hundreds of thousands of scanned in company director forms. For at least 5 years, and I don't know the exact timeframes, but it's at least 5 years, the submission forms of directors over a certain age were available to download by anyone. This included a rather useful copy of their signature. Great for a phishing attack, right? So, however, that data trove, however, the good news is they have now removed that information. I even did a check to see if I could collate it from archives and was unable to do so. So thank God for that. But that data was still available and could easily have been downloaded by those hackers. So the good news is that data has now been removed. The point is this kind of stupid stuff thing is happening all the time. And we're not going to be able to stop it. We just have to think about how do we train people to defend against it. So I hope I've opened your data security eyes a little wider to the risks of internet's basic business model of collating your identity and gaining insights to your behavioral profile. Social media is perhaps the worst single offender in this context, but it's when that data is fused with a wider set of information available via cookies, browsing, and generally the stupid stuff that people do online, that your workmate's identity is exposed in detail. So with that, I'd like to pass to Faye, who will now talk you through on how to approach the training needs of staff for social media use. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. The idea of our project started with a question. Why do people repeat the same mistakes? Yes? Here? Okay. Why do people repeat the same mistakes, although there are many cybersecurity training approaches available? Why do people repeat the same mistakes, even they attend a cybersecurity session that should boost their behavior? With the fact that social media has become embedded in our daily lives, personal activities and business, and the fact that social media users exceeded 3.8 billion users in the world, and the fact that hackers are so active on social media, the importance of this study arises. To answer our question, we investigated 641 Kuwaiti employees working in different roles and responsibilities in Kuwait organizations. To strengthen our data obtained, we conducted 25 in-depth interviews with those policymakers involved in training formation and those who had experienced cybersecurity training before. We found the following. The one-fits-all cybersecurity training approach is highly not effective. People have different learning styles, training preferences, level of knowledge and perceptions of cybersecurity. People always prefer customized training. We found that the most vital factor associated with people training preferences is their roles or responsibilities they have in their jobs. For example, we found that those with leading and top management positions prefer their cybersecurity training to be through emails and short tip sheets. We found that those with learning, training, and educational roles prefer their cybersecurity training to be through workshops or physical training the most. We found that those with office and administrative and those who work in business and financial prefer, or they had similar preferences. They like to attend events. They prefer the motivation approaches such as gamification and offer incentives. They also like phishing tests the most. We found that those who work in military roles such as police and army prefer setting policies in place and short presentations from time to time. However, those IT staffs encouraged all kinds of cybersecurity training approaches and mixing them during the year due to its importance. We found that people are not equal in their level of knowledge and understanding of security concepts to offer them a one-fits-all cybersecurity training approaches. We found that people upon their job roles vary in their security awareness. We found that those three categories, those who work in office and administrative, those who work in business and financial, along with those who work in leading and top management positions, were more vulnerable to cyber attacks, and they were fallen in the riskiest group when we compare them with other employees, followed by those who work in learning, training, and educational roles, and those IT staffs, of course, having the highest knowledge in this area. Another important factor is people age. We found that with the increase in age, people get more mature towards security policies. However, those over 55 years old need to prioritize for cybersecurity training because they have many questions in their minds. We found that the lesser the job experience, the higher risk people pose when they are using social media, meaning a fresher faces higher risk while interacting with social media, and they should prioritize for cyber security training. We found that the higher degrees people have, the higher knowledge they have in the area of social media cybersecurity. Surprisingly, we find another interesting factor, which is time spent on social media. We found that those who spend less than 30 minutes a day on social media and those who exceeded 3 hours a day on social media were more vulnerable to cyber attacks when we compare them with other moderate social media users. As revealed in our study and also corresponds very well with many previous studies, females are more prone to cyber attacks, Females are more prone to cyber attacks than males, and they should prioritize for cybersecurity training, unfortunately. We found that those policymakers and those who formulate cybersecurity training are also challenged. They are challenging with mindset. They are challenging with unsupported management. They are challenging in how to find the right and the proper training method to deliver cybersecurity training. They are challenging in how to convince people about their roles in protecting themselves and the company's assets, how to convince them about security policies and social media policies in particular, how to explain technical terms to non-technical employees, and how to find the right time and venue to conduct cybersecurity training. Based on these results, we get an insight to build a model and a framework for organizations that could tackle a myriad of challenges and issues encountered besides fulfilling users' needs. When we start by understanding our employees, who they are, what they are doing, what their background, what training approaches do they prefer, what social media platform do they use and for how long, we could understand who they are really. In the next area, the risk associated with participants will be estimated by understanding their background from the previous area and collecting more details by asking them to take a quiz. This quiz is based on social media best practices recommended. The awareness score of this quiz or this assessment will cover three following components. First, how much the trainees know about safety behavior on social media, how the trainees behave in response to any incident on social media, and how the trainees feel about the importance of following social media best practices recommended. All the questions in the questionnaire or this quiz are suggested by social media companies as recommendations, and also it's mentioned in the National Cybersecurity Center website. Analyzing the details collected in the previous two areas will help us to identify the proportion of people at risk, the nature of their risk, and their training preferences, which may lead us to design an effective and practical cybersecurity training system for our employees. Toward the last area of our methodology, which aims to evaluate the training effectiveness to improve continually. This framework will not only perceive the risk of social media, it will help those who are in the processing of formulating cybersecurity training in their jobs. This framework will provide us with 3 scenarios of risk: high, moderate, and low risk, which may help us to design an adaptive cybersecurity training system that meets every employee's need, enhancing their level of knowledge, saving time, money, resources, and most importantly, the organizational assets by creating a secure atmosphere across all levels. Until today, this framework has been tested on 18 employees. Statistically, we measure the level of users' awareness before and after the training. As you can see, we could say that this framework or this system has proven its effectiveness because people's level of awareness has increased remarkably after this training. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Salamah. I am PhD student at the University of Plymouth, specializing in cybersecurity. Thank you again.